never thought I'd have to say this, but you two have let me down badly.
Yeah, Marina? What do you mean he's mostly talking about me?
Yes, you, sir.
Oh, well, I can only assume you mean the fact that I've not yet gotten around to asking you to press the button on the randomiser.
Isn't it about time you learned?
Oh, absolutely more than time, but it's just that life has a habit of running away from me, you know? Sometimes it's very difficult.
Well, get over it.
Oh, okay, sorry. But look, I freely admit I'm not very good at organising things. I mean, if it's basic competency that you're looking for, well...
Where the hell are Oren and Romek?
Okay, steady on, I'm not that bad. Anyway, the important thing is that we're here now, and today you, Captain Podley, will get to operate the randomiser. What's that?
Sergeant Fredo, what system does that ship hail from?
I have no idea, Captain. I've never seen anything like it.
That doesn't look like a ship to me, actually, Captain. In fact, it looks rather like this week's episode. Unless I'm very much mistaken, that's Captain Scarlet and Captain Blue on Flight 104.
Well, what are you waiting for? Get after them.
Absolutely, yes, will do, but I'm afraid that means you won't be pressing the button today.
Well, as one would say, lovely.
Sorry. Oh, just seeing that logo, instantly puts me in a good frame of mind because I know whatever is going to follow it is going to be something special. And here we are with the original Captain Scarlet. This is, the third Captain Scarlet we've had on the randomizer so far. And again, this is much like the launching. This is an episode that I remember being a pretty good one that nobody really seems to talk about. So we're gonna talk about this today, though, and we're gonna see if we can. Sorry, I'm just admiring the HD quality of this walk down the alleyway now. You're picking out things that, even after all these years, I've never noticed the words "Trader's Entrance" on the written on the wall in chalk until the Blu-rays. Wonderful Blu-rays.
One man fate has made indestructible. His name,
Captain Blu-ray. Lovely, jolly, reused Avalanche music here. Also, a rare character moment here, I think, between Scarlet and Blue.
Would you mind holding the Grand Opera a minute while I order lunch?
I also love that on the Fanderson Captain Scarlet soundtrack CD, which was out a few years ago, they actually included the recording of Ed Bishop singing in the shower.
What's on the menu?
Steak.
Great. I could eat a horse.
No chance of that here, I'm glad to say.
How's the doctor?
Unlike that other hotel that we stayed in that other country once. Dr. Conrad sleeping in the other room in his full sleeping suit and tie. He's not bothered getting into his jammies or casuals at all.
Well, whoever they are, they move pretty fast when you try to get a photograph in the lobby.
Right. That big blonde guy knocked the camera clean out of my hand.
This is a slightly unusual element to this story in that we don't have Scarlet and Blue and whoever versus Mysteron agents. We have Scarlet and Blue and the guy they're protecting, and these two, this reporter and photographer who are just interested in what they're doing, and sort of fill the same role of being the antagonist, but they're not actually evil or anything. They're just after the story. They want to know what's going on. And they go to slightly bizarre lengths to get it, including dressing up as a waiter.
Someone's outside the doctor's door.
I'll check it out.
Because, of course, Scarlet and Blue have taken a connecting room next to Dr. Conrad's. Everything okay in Dr. Conrad's room? He's flopped footage now. His left to right is now right to left, and he's still wearing his full suit.
Probably our food.
SIG.
Could you bring me some mustard?
Something that kind of distracts me through this period of Captain Scarlet, and I think this episode has it more than any other, is the multiple heads that Scarlet has.
Took a couple of shots of me.
Right now he's got that 5 o'clock shadow head, but in the very previous shot he had that absolutely clean-shaven head. And yet before that,
I've got 2 full face and 1 nice profile.
he had the clean-shaven head again. And he goes back and forth throughout this episode, seemingly every other shot. I don't know
I'm almost
why.
certain they haven't.
But we'll have to be even more careful en route to Lake Toma.
I know they might have been filming scenes from multiple episodes simultaneously,
Slipped him a little something.
but
and
I
he
can't.
agreed
I
to
just
let
don't
me
see
take
why they
place.
keep
let's see
changing
the
his
results.
head throughout this episode. It's
right
very.
up.
It does get a
Turn
bit
out the
distracting by the end.
Right. Are you trying to be funny?
Believe me.
So the reporter's
I
taken a
don't
photo of
understand.
Scarlet, and instead of producing a photo,
Or was there something
it
wrong with
just
the
produces
camera?
a black
No,
outline,
I took
or a
2
black,
shots outside the
a solid
hotel and they
black
were
shape
perfect.
of Scarlet's body.
This whole thing gets stranger every minute.
It's nice that they remembered that
Must be onto something
Mysterons are
really
impervious to X-rays, which might also mean that photos don't pick them out too well either. However, it does look a bit like a sort of cartoon time. Scarlet's just kind of crashed through the wall and left a great big hole in it, but
The conference at Lake Toma will be sabotaged. We know what you are trying to do.
and I think this conference somehow fits into a few things that were hinted at later on in the series of an attempted return to Mars, and it was never explicitly tied together, but you can kind of link this conference with, I think later on, Noose of Ice. They're talking about building rockets for a new fleet of ships that are going to Mars, and this conference is where they're planning that return to Mars.
They are meeting to decide the method and purpose of Earth's return to Mars and the Mysterons.
Yeah, I like that, because it's... Scarlet started off as a really continuity-heavy series.
It goes ahead as
The
planned.
first 2 episodes are linked.
Spectrum's job is to ensure the delegates'
The
safety
Operation
en route
Time,
and
Spectrum
for the
Strikes
duration
Back
of
are
the
obviously
conference.
linked.
Captain Magenta, Captain Gray, Captain Ochre.
The Lunarville trilogy, it's all linked. By this point in the series, they've kind of abandoned that. So it's nice to get that little
We'll leave at once, Colonel.
nod to continuity past and potentially, if the series had gone on, maybe future with the
I'm not too concerned about the Doctor.
thought of a return to Mars in this series. Very, very tantalising, very appealing.
Will we be traveling on a normal scheduled flight?
Yes, but with one difference. We bought every seat in different names. We'll
Just
have
for the fun of
whole
it.
plane to ourselves.
We're just being crazy today, Dr. Conrad.
If we wore uniforms or used Spectrum transportation, it would only arouse suspicion.
This way we get all the in-flight lunches all to ourselves. Oh no, that you actually wouldn't want that, would you, knowing airline food?
Looks like they're heading for the airport.
Those 2 pressmen are still in sight.
And this is an unusual shot as well of...
Don't worry, Doctor.
Usually,
Just a news cameraman
when you see
and a
puppets in
reporter
cars in the
after a
Century
story.
21 era,
They may have recognized me.
you don't see the strings because they're being operated from below.
Could have lost them,
This
but it's better if we don't.
saloon that
That way we know
Scarlet and Blue
exactly where
and
they
Dr.
are.
Conrad are travelling in, it's not a Spectrum saloon, it's just an open-top car, so the wires are poking out the top.
They think they've got an
But the
exclusive
reporters are
story.
following in their
They're
car,
going to tell
and
us so.
the roof of their car is
It'll be an
just
exclusive.
like the top of the door frame, and the puppet's wires are still poking out the top, whereas I think by Joe 90, it was more or less every single shot of a puppet in a car was operated from below. I'm just becoming more and more observant of those things with Blu-ray, I think.
Won't the crew question all the empty seats?
This is the slack season. The flights are quite often 3/4 empty.
The plane was full right up.
Full? At this time of year?
It's the slack season. Everybody knows this. It's
Let's
an
just hope there's a
established
couple of
fact.
last-minute cancellations.
And here comes the man himself, Captain Black. I was also hoping for a seat on the plane. Yeah, back in the days where you could just wander into the, wander through doors marked aircrew only. Nobody's stopping Captain Black. Because after all, this is the slack season.
Well, we'd better be going.
Yeah, with 15 minutes to the takeoff, you'd better actually, you'd better consider getting on the plane before it leaves.
here. They say they must get on flight 104.
Probably the 2 pressmen.
Oh, nice pan of the Novena Airport here. That looks to me in the background like we might just be seeing the Director General's plane from Winged Assassin. The one that got blown up. Or something similar, at least. Maybe it's a stunt double. And this plane of Flight 104 itself, I think, was reused a few times in Joe 90, possibly. It might even have just been stock footage, but I'm sure it had something of an afterlife beyond this episode. And going back to the basic sort of premise of this episode, while Captain Black is watching the plane take off through his binoculars, the Mysterons threatened to sabotage the conference. Well, their plan through this episode is essentially to kill Dr. Conrad, which might put a hole in the conference, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily going to sabotage the whole conference. It just feels like with this episode there's a setup for, while Scarlet and Blue are away protecting this scientist, there's the setup for an episode involving Ochre, Grey and Magenta thwarting a Mysteron plot for once. I know Grey doesn't speak at this point and Magenta wouldn't be much use. But yeah, it's I'd love to see what those three were actually doing during the course of this episode. I mean, I don't know, I shudder to think what they would be doing, to be honest.
The pilot has regained consciousness, but we can't get much sense out of him. Keeps mumbling something about a strange man.
Has he given you a description?
But
Yes,
Captain
what
Magenta is in Lake Tomo.
Yeah, pallid complexion, dressed all in black.
All in black.
Could it be Captain Black, Colonel?
No, I don't think so. Well, could be Captain Black.
Well, you certainly get around for a waiter.
I can explain that.
It's all right. Don't worry about it.
I do genuinely like as well with this how Scarlet and Blue are like, yeah, you guys are okay.
There's no one.
You're no problem.
Empty? That's very strange.
Right now, he doesn't have his 5 o'clock shadow. We'll see how long that lasts.
Without their spectrum caps, we can't call up Captain Scarlet or Captain Blue on spectrum wave bands. We'll have to find another way to contact them.
That is a bit of
Angels 1, 2,
sort of
3. Immediate launch.
I don't know, it makes it a bit convenient that you can't contact them. You can't imagine two agents being sent on a mission like this without a small communicator. It doesn't have to be their hats. And there's that odd moment where, I think it's exclusive to this episode, where Angel 1 launches and the model moves about an inch, and then we suddenly cut to the end of the runway and it's gone. Yeah, Angels 2 and 3 are well off, though. They're well underway. Although I'm not too keen on this shot where Angels 2 and 3 rise to join Angel 1 and they sort of wobble upwards and kind of point down a bit.
We pinpoint Captain Scarlet's position, order the Angels onto an interceptor course. And make this a red alert, Lieutenant. I have a feeling time is running out.
You always have a feeling time is running out. That's one of your catchphrases.
Do you think everything's all right?
Just sit down and use your safety belt. Why didn't the pilot warn us?
And again, I'm not too sure how realistic it is that you would get on a plane with no stewards or stewardesses at all, hear nothing from the pilot and think, this is okay.
Proceed at speed ultimate.
Speed ultimate. Oh, I love that.
SIG, Lieutenant.
It's super duper ultra fast speed. It's ludicrous speed. Off we go. Oh, this is a slightly lower res shot than the others around it, probably because it's flopped. You can see the S's are the wrong way round. Oh, and again there's a close-up on one interceptor and the S's are the wrong way round.
Have made a reconnaissance sweep and established that the pilot's cabin is empty.
I find that so irritating, flopped shots. I don't know why, but it's just like, I know you sometimes have to do it on the show, but in merchandising and things like that, it always bugs me. Especially when there's something like the S, which is a dead giveaway. And again, there it is the wrong way round.
Captain Scarlet and Captain Blue have taken the controls, but the jet is not responding.
Thank you, Destiny. That was a fine impression of Rhapsody. Not sure what happened there.
We've got to pull her up.
Again, I find that very odd in these shows when one character opens their mouth and another person's voice comes out. I know they kind of have to go with what's already been recorded. I just don't understand how those errors kept cropping up so frequently in these shows.
The airliner is still not responding, Colonel White.
Would you like me to do my Harmony impression?
Captain Scarlet, Dr. Conrad's life is in your hands.
And also Captain Blue is there as well. Captain Blue doesn't always get enough credit when he's out with Scarlet. It's always, oh, Captain Scarlet, it's up to you. Ignoring the blonde guy who's right there with him. So now Flight 104 is flying very low over the mountains, which I guess is the Mysteron plan, to just crash the plane into the mountains.
Keep trying.
We're going to crash. I know it.
See, you would expect if the plan was to sabotage the conference, they might crash the plane onto the conference.
We've got to pull it out of this dive.
This all seems a bit low-key for a Mysteron plot, just targeting one guy. But maybe he's a very important guy, you know. Sleeps in a suit, so he must be unique on more levels than that.
Controls are easy.
It must have been that power station. The high voltage must have cancelled out the Mysteron power over the aircraft.
And then, again, that's a nice little bit of continuity. You'd expect maybe Spectrum agents to start carrying, I don't know, small electrical, like tasers or something. Just a car that's being taken over by the Mysteron. Zap. Oh, thank you. We'll have that back.
Maintain visual contact.
Lower the undercarriage.
SIG. No response. A stray bullet must have broken the electrical circuit when I shot through the lock.
Oh, you dingbat.
I'm taking her down. Get everyone to the rear of the plane and you stay with them, Captain Blue.
But, Captain...
No, this is my job. Now get moving.
Oh, if only there was some kind of organisation that was set up to deal with things like this. When, if a plane had a problem with its undercarriage, you could call them and they'd bring out these, I don't know, these things for you to land on, but...
What is it, Destiny?
Oh, alas. We can only dream of such a world where such things exist.
Contact them on the aircraft's frequency.
Captain Scarlet has not lowered the landing wheels.
You heard that, Lieutenant?
Yes, Colonel.
Warn Geneva Airport to stand by for an emergency
Just
landing.
checking, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir. Stand by for crash landing. This is an emergency.
And an emergency requires... stock footage of ambulances and fire engines from Thunderbirds, specifically those vehicles at London Airport. I guess someone in the editing room must have even sort of remembered, oh yeah, undercarriage problem. Thunderbirds, London Airport. We'll just use that shot, it's quick. Although it does highlight, I think, the difference in design in the guest vehicles between Thunderbirds and Scarlet. The Thunderbirds ones tended to be more rounded, but at times seemed kind of lumpier, whereas in Scarlet everything seemed sleeker and sort of more angled. I think I generally prefer the Century 21 design aesthetic, even though I know it was largely the same people working on it. I'm more drawn to these shows on multiple levels in the Century 21 era rather than earlier, I think.
He's all right.
How do you know?
I just know. Take my word for it.
That's a nice way to get out of it. He's fine.
Well, if you're
And
right...
his body's been scissored in half. He's fine.
What a story. Say, what's the name of the guy at the control?
What did you think was going down to start with?
A man doing a job. A great job.
Oh, poor old Scarlet. Yeah, he's dead. But what exactly did the reporters think this story could potentially have been? A scientist books a room at a hotel. 2 guys are with him. He has a nap. What did they think they were really onto with this? I'm not sure. Anyway, that was Flight 104. Yeah, I still really like that one. It's a nice change of pace. Oh, I'm just looking at the HD transfer again. I've never noticed the black patterning around the neck on the Cobra in that painting. Oh, love the Blu-rays. Yeah, another very enjoyable episode of Captain Scarlet. I can see why it doesn't sort of get mentioned in the same breath as some of the greats, because there's not too much here that's spectacular or anything. It is quite low-key. I mean, the threat is low-key, and Spectrum's response to it is fairly low-key. We don't even know what happens with the conference at the end. Presumably, Ochre, Grey and Magenta protected it as well as they were able to. Yeah, I still quite enjoyed this. It's got its problems, but not enough to make me stop loving it.
Captain Scarlet.